The whisper within. Why following your spirit creates unstoppable success. Have you ever felt that quiet tug inside your chest? That persistent whisper saying, "This isn't it. There's something more for you." We're taught to silence that voice, to follow the roadmap others have drawn for us, to stay in our lane. But what if that whisper is actually your greatest compass? What if following your spirit, that deep knowing part of yourself, is the true secret to not just success, but fulfillment that radiates through every part of your life? I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Aleisha Hunter, whose journey from uncertainty to unstoppable impact left me completely transformed. Her insights on trusting your inner voice aren't just inspirational, they're revolutionary, especially for Black women navigating spaces never designed for our brilliance. Alicia has become a beacon of authentic leadership, showing thousands how to transform their whispers of intuition into roars of purpose that reshape industries and communities. The moment I stopped asking for permission to be who I already was, Alicia shared, doors didn't just open, walls came down entirely. Let that sink in for a moment. When was the last time you waited for permission to be fully yourself? How many of us are still waiting for permission? Permission to speak up in meetings, permission to launch that business, permission to rest without guilt, permission to be fully ourselves in spaces that weren't built with us in mind. But here's what I learned from Aleisha Hunter: permission isn't coming. And that's actually the most beautiful news you'll hear today. Because when you follow your spirit instead of external validation, you don't just find success, you redefine it. You don't just enter rooms, you transform them. You don't just build businesses, you create legacies that lift others as you climb. Consider Alicia Prodden, who I discovered during my research for my conversation with Alicia. Alicia was thriving as an actress and model in Bangladesh, living what many would consider a dream life: designer clothes, luxury cars, adoring fans, the kind of life where people stop you for selfies while you're trying to eat your lunch in peace. You know, problems we'd all love to have. But that inner voice, it wouldn't quiet down. It kept whispering, "There's more, there's purpose beyond the spotlight." When Alicia announced she wanted to transition into entrepreneurship and launch her Net TV, a platform focused on women's empowerment, her family didn't exactly throw a celebration. Her father, an established businessman himself, was particularly skeptical. I imagine the conversation went something like, "You want to give up fame and fortune to start a what now? Prove it," he essentially told her. "Work 6 months at Globe Group, and then we'll talk about investment." Now, imagine trading your designer wardrobe for business casual, your private driver for public transportation, your adoring public for skeptical colleagues who wonder if you're just playing entrepreneur between photo shoots. That's exactly what Alicia did. She surrendered the comfort of her established identity and stepped into the unknown, all because her spirit wouldn't let her settle for less than her purpose. For 6 months, she worked diligently on branding projects, took buses instead of luxury cars, and lived on a fraction of her previous income. Not because she had to, but because she was following something deeper than comfort. She was following her spirit. After proving herself by bringing innovation to Globe Group's marketing team, her father finally invested in her Net TV. Today, Alicia has launched multiple successful ventures, including the HerNet Foundation, and has become a powerful advocate for female empowerment, through media innovation. One woman's decision to listen to that inner voice has now created pathways for countless young women across South Asia to see new possibilities for themselves. That's what happens when you follow your spirit. The impact ripples far beyond your own life. But let's be honest, this path isn't easy. It's not a straight line. It's not an overnight success story with a montage of wins set to inspirational music. It's messy. It's terrifying. Sometimes it's lonely. As Aleisha Hunter emphasized in our interview, the journey will test you, period. But those tests become your testimony when you stay true to yourself. I saw this truth reflected in another remarkable woman I researched, Alicia McCall. Yes, another Alicia. The universe clearly wanted me to pay attention to this name. Perhaps you should too if there's an Alicia in your life. Alicia McCall represented Australia as a professional ice skater. Think about the discipline that requires the early mornings, the physical demands, the mental fortitude to compete at that level, the willingness to fall hard on ice repeatedly in pursuit of perfection. But then came that whisper again, that knowing that there was another arena where her gifts were needed. Transitioning from elite athlete to entrepreneur meant facing an entirely new set of challenges. She had little business experience. She was leaving behind established success and stepping into the unknown. The doubts were loud, both internal and external. You're an ice skater, not a CEO, was probably the kindest version of what she heard. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of seeing her athletic background as irrelevant to business, Alicia leaned into the lessons she'd learned on the ice: discipline, intuition under pressure, the ability to fall and get back up again and again and again. She trusted her instincts when making key business decisions rather than simply following conventional advice. She brought her whole self, not just her business acumen, but her athlete's mindset to her ventures. The result? She built credibility as both a creative force and strategic thinker. She successfully launched ventures that drew on her unique perspective, shaped by life experiences outside traditional business circles. Today, she's known for an innovative leadership style that blends athletic grit with visionary thinking. She's recognized among her peers as someone who skates past obstacles through faith and self guidance. But perhaps most importantly, she's encouraged other athletes and professionals of color globally that reinvention is possible when led by one spirit, not just resume lines or societal expectations. This is what Aleisha Hunter emphasized repeatedly in our conversation. When you follow your spirit, you make choices that align with your true self, not just external expectations. This path may not always be the easiest, but it's often the most rewarding and impactful. And sometimes following your spirit means standing firmly in your identity when the world expects you to minimize yourself. I was particularly moved by the story of the founder of a Layla Lounge, a Muslim hijabi woman building an inclusive entrepreneurial brand right in Birmingham's heart. Talk about courage. Talk about following your spirit despite every external message telling you to shrink. In a business landscape where visible Muslim women leaders are underrepresented, she faced both gender bias and religious cultural stereotypes while establishing credibility within local business circles and broader society. But rather than downplaying her identity to fit in, she relied heavily on spiritual conviction, on following her spirit over external validation. She used her authenticity as strength, rather than liability. The outcome? She created safe spaces that celebrate diversity while thriving commercially. She became a role model locally and nationally for Black and Muslim female founders pushing boundaries. She helped normalize intersectional leadership styles rooted deeply in personal faith across the UK entrepreneurial landscape. One woman's decision to honor her spirit rather than hide it has now created space for others to do the same. This is what Aleisha Hunter meant when she told me by boldly following your own path, especially as a Black professional or entrepreneur, you create a ripple effect, empowering others to do the same and breaking barriers within industries and communities. But let's get practical for a moment. How do we actually do this? How do we tune into that inner voice when the world is so loud with opinions about who we should be and what success should look like? Aleisha shared three powerful practices that have transformed her own journey. First, create sacred silence. 10 minutes of stillness each morning, she said, has saved me from years of moving in the wrong direction. Before emails, before social media, before the world tells you who to be that day, get quiet enough to hear your own wisdom. Second, notice what makes you come alive. Energy doesn't lie. Aleisha emphasized. When you feel that surge of excitement mixed with terror, that's your spirit pointing toward your path. Pay attention to when you lose track of time, when you feel most yourself, when you're in that flow state. Those aren't random, they're breadcrumbs leading you home to yourself. Third, surround yourself with spirit led truth tellers. You need people who will reflect your greatness back to you when you forget. She said, not yes people, but soul people who know the difference between your fear voice and your spirit voice. As Maya Angelou wisely said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The same applies to your spirit. When it shows you who you truly are and what you're meant to do, believe it the first time. I'm reminded of the powerful words from Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Following your spirit doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means recognizing that your purpose is more important than your comfort. So here's my challenge to you today. Stop waiting for permission to be who you already are. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. Stop postponing your purpose because the timing isn't perfect. The world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs more people who have the audacity to listen to that whisper within and follow it, even when it leads them off the beaten path, even when it terrifies them, even when others don't understand. Because here's the truth: your spirit isn't just whispering to benefit you. It's whispering because somewhere someone needs exactly what happens when you show up fully as yourself. Someone needs the business you'll build, the art you'll create, the space you'll hold, the words you'll speak, the boundaries you'll set, the love you'll give when you're aligned with your deepest truth. The most revolutionary act in a world determined to keep you small is to listen to the voice within that knows you're destined for greatness. So I ask you, what is your spirit whispering to you today? And what would change in your life, in your community, in our world if you had the courage to listen? The answer to that question isn't just your purpose, it's your power. Now go use it.